is very simple. 1 in 10 Americans have diabetes, about 37 million people. 1 in 5 don't even know that they have diabetes. So that's why it's an important disease. And what it does is affects you from head to toe. And it's a big cost factor too. About $350 billion is spent on either direct impact of the diabetes or the lost wages from the complication of diabetes. So, money-wise as well as effect on the population, it's a huge disease. And a lot of other diseases hang out with diabetes. For example, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, chronic kidney disease, foot disease, peripheral arterial disease, the circulation disease of the legs, eye issues, visual impairment. About 12% people who are diabetic have visual impairment or worse, blindness. So that's why it's an important topic for a community to address on a population level, a bigger level, and that's why group classes are phenomenal. You can learn from each other's experience, our experience, Jen's experience, and the other speakers we're going to have as you go through this journey in the boot camp, their experience. What is diabetes? It's a very basic question, and a lot of patients struggle when I ask them. They say, "Oh, just high sugar," and that's a good answer, but it's a bigger answer is there is a problem in the body in how the food we take and the energy which we get from that food, how that get affected or not done well in diabetes. Typically, consume food, it goes through your stomach, it goes through your gut, and then the pancreas get a signal, hey, there's sugar. Let's say Mark had a scoop of ice cream. Well, no one was watching. Normally Mark don't do that. He says he takes 2 scoops. That ice cream goes in his gut and breaks down into sugar or glucose, and then that signals the pancreas, which has islet cells, to produce insulin. All fine in normal person, the insulin takes that glucose, and tells the cell, hey, take that glucose in, it's good glucose, and the cell take the glucose, whether it's in your brain, heart, kidney, or any muscles, any cell in the body, glucose is needed for functioning, and good things happen. But in diabetics, what happens is there could be 2 things. Type 1 diabetes, you ate the ice cream, the pancreas says, hey, the factory is closed, and that's a smaller portion, less than 45. We see more in teenage and children that are type 1, but 90 to 95% diabetics are type 2. So there is not enough insulin. So that's a demand supply issue, and it's an autoimmune disorder. We don't have to deal with that here in this population or in our clinic as much. Though we have some type 1 diabetics who get ill in life too, but that's more esoteric and rare. In our population, what we worry about is type 2 diabetes, which all of you have. So what happens in type 2 diabetes? In type 2 diabetes, you Mark had 2 scoops of ice cream. We're picking on Mark, but next time we'll pick on that. So type 2 diabetes, you eat the ice cream, the body produces the glucose, and then the pancreas produces the insulin. All fine till there. But then the insulin and the glucose, they hang out together. The cells say, we're not taking it in. So you got insulin resistance now. And that's the big player in type 2 diabetes. A lot of patients don't understand. There's not initially, later on, yes, the insulin can get less as we age, the pancreas get old, but initially and throughout most of the type 2 diabetes journey, the main issue is insulin resistance. That means you have glucose, you have insulin, but insulin is not able to get the glucose into the cells. So then it hangs out more outside along with higher amount of insulin. So what does that do? Why, that creates so much complication? Higher the amount of glucose hanging out in your blood vessels throughout your body, more the toxicity from head to toe. For example, on the retina and the blood vessels over a period of time, it causes diabetic retinopathy. In the kidneys, in the small blood vessels of the kidney, it causes diabetic nephropathy or chronic kidney disease. And a lot of you folks are familiar. We do urine tests periodically to pick it up early, and you start leaking small amount of protein because of the damage of the sugar on the kidneys. So in a nutshell, higher the sugar, higher the toxicity. And that's what type 2 diabetes is about. And it increases the inflammation, so it's not just the direct effect, but also the effect of the inflammation. For example, inflammation can increase heart attacks by clogging up the arteries of the heart, the coronary arteries. It can increase strokes by clogging up the carotid. So there's an indirect effect of the high sugar with inflammation too. So that's why type 2 diabetes is a serious disease by numbers, as I just explained, the cost, and the organs, multiple organs, a systemic disease. So that's why it's important for us to address it and for you to understand how to do it. So you will get the tools as we go along in this boot camp to deal with all those various issues, and then we'll go over the individual complication in our future talks with different speakers. With that, I'll introduce our next person, the main, the force behind this boot camp, our lead MA, Jen. Jen, why don't you take over, and walk them through what they're in for and how we're going to move forward.
Okay, so I've supplied with everyone an agenda. So each month it'll tell you what's going on. This month, This month, we're going to just do, what's going on. Yep, Lawrence, you go ahead and go over and see her, and then come on back when you're done, okay? What you can expect from the program, which Dr. talked to you about, but he forgot to mention one important thing about the grand prize.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So the person that improves the most, and this is including A1C, cholesterol, weight, and waist circumference, at the end of this program will receive a Fitbit watch. So very exciting. That should give you some motivation. Today what we're going to do is we're just going to set up some goals. So everybody in your folder, you have some papers I provided for you. We have our weight goals. These folders should be brought back every visit so that we can keep track of your weight. So we'll weigh you every time, and we'll do your waist circumference, okay? And then we have some other health goals on here.
What is waist circumference?
Waist, so we'll measure your waist and see that.
My waist underneath my gut or my gut?
By your belly button, yeah? I'll show you, I'll help you do that in a little bit, yep. And then some other important things, you should make sure you know when you had your last eye exam, your last foot exam, and also dental exam, okay? And then you have another sheet that says your blood sugar goals. Now this is gonna be more of your A1C and your fasting sugars. And Dr. Mahajan and I will help you set up a personal goal for yourself, okay? We have also in here a blood sugar log. Does everybody have a blood sugar meter that they can check their glucose with? I know you have your freestyle. Do you have one, Mark?
Yes.
Okay, Carol, do you have a?
Yes, I do.
Okay, perfect. So I'd like you guys to start keeping track of it. Whenever you check it, just write it down and bring that back.
Is that once a day?
Sure.
Okay.
Twice a day if you like. What do you think, doctor?
So, depending on where you are with your diabetes, if it's uncontrolled, let's say your A1C is more than 8, then twice a day is better. The reason for that is I like to do fasting in the morning, and then 2 hours after any of your meals, whether lunch or dinner. There's reasons for that. The fasting number gives you your basal rate, so that means how your body produces a constant insulin to keep the sugar, which the muscles and the sugar storage breakdown, it handles that. But then there is post-meal load, so that means you eat your food, there's a big spike in the sugar. And there are two different controls for that. So if your numbers are good, once a day is good, If you have more than 8 the A1C, then fasting in the morning and 2 hours after a big meal, whether lunch or dinner is good.
2 hours
Yes,
after another meal?
yes, after a meal.
So after lunch you would do it again?
2 hours after lunch, 2 hours after dinner.
Oh, okay, I was trying to get it 2 hours after the first time I took it. That would be like 10 o'clock in the morning.
Right, so first thing in the morning when you finish brushing your teeth, do it then, that's fasting.
Right,
And then do another number if you can 2 hours after lunch or dinner. So that gives you a better window into different aspect of diabetes.
okay.
Does having this,
Having the sensors is perfect, as long as, you
but the thing is, when I do it 2 hours after eating, it goes up.
right, so you want to see,
About 4 or 5 hours before it comes down.
everyone is different and we'll walk you through that. Why is that, and we'll go into different factors, but keep a log of what the numbers are.
I've also provided in there, some pictures. This is, low blood sugar. I want you guys to be aware of the symptoms of this and what to do to treat that. Because as you're, changing your diet and everything, we need to make sure that our blood sugar's not getting too low. And we also have one for high blood sugar, so they'll tell you the different symptoms that you may have for each of them. And I've also provided, and this is completely optional, I just thought it might help, is a little food diary to help you kind of plan your meals out, figure out what you're gonna eat, and breakfast, snacks, lunch, and snacks, and everything. So you can write them on there, so when you come back next time, we can discuss and see if you're making good food choices. We will have Jackie speak in September, and she'll be talking about nutrition and what kind of foods to eat and that kind of stuff.
So when is the next?
So August 4th is our next class. That's gonna be with Jordan. We're gonna do some mild exercising. Jordan's gonna show you guys how to do some exercises that's gonna be easy for you guys, not to hurt you, but also to keep you active. It's very important to have some exercise. We want to do at least 30 minutes, 5 times a week.
We can build up to that. You can make just small steps in the journey of exercise. Just take some additional steps instead of going 10 minutes around Publix to find the closest parking, maybe find the farthest parking and take those extra 10-15 steps each way. So simple things like that, using 3-4 steps if you have those in the house, take them 3-4 times a day. So simple things like that will make a big difference.
I have some stuff on here.
Okay, why don't you go over?
Alright, so this is like the pamphlet that you have in your packets. It's knowing your A1C, understanding your A1C. So on the side, you can see right here that we have the average blood sugar. There we go. So your A1C will tell you kind of like what your average blood sugar will be. Right here, this is what I was talking about. Okay, so that's also on your packet too. So that's something we're gonna do in a couple minutes. We're gonna set up your goals. And then, so here's where Doctor was talking to about the blood glucose before meals. This is a good, this is good.
120, 130, we're happy. In seniors, we don't want too tight either. Low sugar itself has a host of complications, so 120, 130 fasting is a good goal, less than 180 is a good goal. And if you look at the right-hand panel, the blue screen, 7% A1C, 7.5 in seniors, we are okay. We don't want above 8, that's no. If you have a younger sibling or younger kid, God forbid they have diabetes, definitely 6.5, but in senior population, 7 to 7.5, is okay. If you can go around 7, that's better, but if you're getting hypoglycemic or low sugar less than 7, then we want to keep it a little bit liberal in seniors.
And does everyone know what the A1C measures? It measures the
Okay, hold on, let's ask them, let's ask this young
Do
lady.
you know what the A1C measures, Deb?
Okay, how about Mark, do you know what A1C is?
Amount of sugar in your blood.
What's that again?
This is the amount of sugar in your blood.
Well, kind of, but not the exact answer we're looking for. Cal?
If it's too high, you get in trouble with the doctor.
Good answer.
So let's just, I'm glad you mentioned that, Jen. The A1C is the average sugar in 3 months.
Oh, yeah.
So the body keeps track of your sugar, and we, check the lab every 3 months to track that. So you can, be very smart, like Marcus sometime, and not eat those 2 scoops of ice cream, day before he comes for blood test. Yeah, the fasting sugar will be 110, 120, but he can't fool us because we're gonna do the A1C, which will tell us how's the numbers averaging in 3 months. So it's an average number in 3 months. So it has a big value because it not just gives us a small time frame, it gives us a bigger time frame for 3 months.
Okay, and all of you guys should have a copy of your latest A1C. So, how are we doing?
I haven't had the one before, I'm at 9.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so we have some.
I have to work on it, because my doctor said I had hemorrhage behind the eye, but I just saw him and it would stop. So, he said I was doing something right, because it hasn't progressed.
Right, so that's a good point, that there's a direct correlation between higher the sugar, more the hemorrhaging behind the eyes. So, that should give you incentive, Debbie, to keep it tight so you don't end up losing your eyes and, have to learn Braille. That would be a new language then. So you rather learn how to bring your sugar down than to learn Braille. So yes, that's a good point you bring, that higher the A1C, the average sugar, higher the general sugar, the more, as I said, the toxicity on the blood vessels, the more they bleed and more the chances of blindness. So we don't want that.
And how can you lower it? Well, that's what we're going to teach you here. So, checking your blood sugar, like the doctor suggests, making sure you're taking all your medications as prescribed, being active, and making healthy meal choices. And I have an example of a plate that I'll pass around. This is what your meal should look like. So this is your protein. Your protein should be about the size of a deck of cards. Nice grilled chicken, nothing fried. For a starch, you need some kind of beans or brown rice. So right now we have a little mixture of some pinto beans, black beans, and kidney beans. And then the biggest part of your plate should be your vegetables. So
the half the plate
Mhm.
should be fruits and vegetables. And even in the fruits, pick the fruits with low sugar. So if you look at this plate here, this has, as you can see, half the plate has cucumbers, lettuce, tomatoes, broccoli, asparagus. And you can, my wife does something interesting, and maybe you guys can do that. It's very filling. She puts some olive oil on the broccoli and asparagus and Brussels sprouts, and put some pepper, and put it in the oven for half an hour. And then she, if you want some more seasoning, you can add more seasoning to it, whatever you enjoy, like rosemary, oregano, parsley, whatever. And then she puts in a Ziploc bags for the whole week, and that's what she brings for lunch. I know it's hard, but it's filling because the olive oil gets you the fat, the right kind of fat. And the broccoli is a very interesting vegetable. Broccoli is one of the vegetables, not only give you fiber, it also gives you protein. There are not many vegetables which get you protein. Broccoli is one of them. So you get very filling with it. So I know it's a new concept to you folks, but trying something a little bit different and get a little bit comfortable with uncomfortable will help you get to your goals, whatever it is, maybe weight loss, maybe circumference, getting the waist circumference down by a couple of notches. Let's say you're 38, get to 34 waist circumference, and getting the A1C close to 7. So if you have a plate and it's not full with, half full with fruits and vegetables, stop eating, go and get a green apple. Eat that with a glass of water. And the green apple is a great diabetic fruit, I call it, because it has low sugar content. And it's not expensive. I know with inflation, you gotta budget and do all that, but you get, every week get 3-4 green apples, so that way, instead of having the bread, you start the meal with green apple and water. You already achieved almost quarter of the plate, which you should have. So, and then these are my favorite. These are called superfoods, the beans. Why they're called superfoods? Going back. So the superfoods, the bean, we're talking, let me get you caught up here. So we're talking how we can modify our lunches, dinners to reduce the amount of sugar. So this is a example plate Jen put together, and the key part of the plate is half the plate is, as you can see, is with fruits and vegetables. There's not much fruit up here, but we were talking about if you don't have any of these vegetables, keep some green apples at home. Green apples does not have very high sugar content, let's say like grapes or watermelon, which in diabetic, you have that continuous glucose monitor, you probably can see that right away. The minute you have watermelon, I love watermelon in Florida and summers, but maybe in moderation, 1 or 2 slices, not have the quarter of the big watermelon. The sugar goes to the roof. But if you, go ahead.
Now you said green apples. What about red apples?
Red apples are okay. I'm just giving you an ideal fruit. You can, okay with the red apples too, but I'm just trying to give you an example of something which will be ideal. You go a notch below, I'm okay. Yes, ma'am.
Can you put salt on it?
Say it again?
Can you put salt on it?
So it depends, salt, I explained to you earlier, but 25 to 30% diabetics have high blood pressure too. They have high blood pressure, they hang together. So if you have high blood pressure, salt is absolute no-no. Whatever is in the food, yes, you can use Mrs. Dash or salt substitute. So that's okay.
How about heat? You mean like cook it a little bit so it's softer?
So the heat is good, but steam it. Steaming does not take the food value out as the frying does. And I gave you another example of putting in the oven. So I was giving them an example of what my wife does for lunch, which is interesting. She, on the weekend, because we're both busy working, and I'm pretty sure you guys have your routine and you are busy with grandkids or your hobbies or coming to doctors, going to pharmacists. So what she does on the weekend is she take a bunch of asparagus, bunch of broccoli, and bunch of Brussels sprout, and she sprinkle olive oil and black pepper on it and put it in the oven for half an hour. It makes it soft, so I know a lot of us have dental issues, so it becomes chewy, and it adds flavors to it because the olive oil seeps into it, and it gives fullness because you're adding fat to the fiber, good fat to the fiber, and you can add other herbs to it. So instead of salt, as I gave you example, you can add Italian herbs to it, barbecue herbs to it, any herbs, rosemary, oregano, make it aromatic.
What about that Himalayan pink salt?
Good point. It is so-called more healthier, but it still has sodium in that.
Because that's what we use at the house.
Right, so it's better than the white processed salt, but it still raises your blood pressure. So a pinch is fine.
Yeah, we don't use it a
Right,
lot.
don't go beyond that because the high blood pressure and diabetes go hand in hand. So you don't want to increase your fluid load because the salt, what it does is makes you retain fluid, and long term it raises the pressure and causes heart failure. So less is good. And then the protein can come from plant source or the animal source. The plant source is preferable in diabetic if you can. Some people grew up with animal source, it's hard for them to go to plant source, but even if once a week or twice a week you can do more plant source like beans for the protein. It will be, the beans, if you look at Weight Watchers, is considered a superfood. And the reason for that is it has protein, it has fiber, and more importantly, it has a hard coat. You know, you can't crack a dry bean with your teeth, you know, it will break your teeth. Same thing happens in the gut. So we didn't put any canned beans here if you saw that. And the reason for that is canned beans are full of salt. They're soft, they're easy to cook, less cooking time, convenient, yes. Healthy, no. Soak them overnight and, you know, add some tomatoes, onions, garlic, ginger, whatever herbs you have at home. Celery, carrots, throw that in, put in the slow cooker, put some water, stew it.
Pigtails and some.
Pigtails, sure, you want to add pigtail, oxtail, whatever is in your home. I know how many pigtails and oxtail you have. But that's your fancy, sure. And stew it and add some brown rice or quinoa with that. And you got a nice full meal which, you know, won't raise your sugars. Will raise somewhat, but because of the why it's called superfood. So let me help you explain and understand, so maybe you can incorporate that in your diet more. This is called superfood because of the coating outside. So what I mean by that is when you consume the beans, let's say chili, vegetarian chili or pigtail chili for him, it goes in your gut and the stomach say, I can't handle it, it's too hard. It goes to your small bowel, all the juices coming from your gallbladder, pancreas, and the juices inside the gut, they still can't handle it. So it has to go all the way down. The small gut is very long. To the last part of the small gut to really make them squeeze out the sugar from it. So what it does to our gut is two things. One, it stays full because working so hard, the juices are pouring in, and you get a little bit distension because the gas starts forming. You may not have friends if you eat too much beans, but you won't lose your legs or your eyes.
That's why you soak them overnight.
Soaking them overnight will help you make them softer.
Well, it makes them soft, but it takes the gas out of them.
It reduces the gas too, not 100%, but quite a bit. But you still get that fullness, and that's what I'm after. That's what the Weight Watchers are after. Because once you have, let's say, a chili with brown rice, you're not going to feel hungry for the next 3-4 hours. Because the gut is working hard to break it down, The fiber, it's good source for your potassium if you don't have any issues with your kidneys. It's a good source of fiber, and the fiber is a great, feeding ground for microflora inside the gut, because they need to hang on to something. If you think about it, all the microflora we have in our gut is our friends. They help you provide B12. They help you provide, believe it or not, they help you with anxiety. The microflora. So if you have a healthy microflora, it helps you from head to toe. And the fiber, all these things, is like a nesting grounds for the bacteria, the good bacteria in your gut. So they provide that to them too. And so that way your sugar, these are what we call low glycemic foods. What I mean by low glycemic food is the sugar, instead of going up like this with Mark's 2 scoops of ice cream, with with the beans too, with even pigtail, it will go like this, the sugar, instead of like this. So what that does is, so think about it. If the sugar, if you have a cookie or a processed food like ice cream or soda pop, juices, the sugar goes like this. the pancreas saying, hey, hold on, you know, I don't have enough insulin. So what happened to that excess sugar?
Same with like orange juice too, right?
Same thing with orange juice. So the orange juice is so-called healthy, but it's one of the most unhealthy drink, or any juices for that matter. Let's not, you know, blame orange juice. If you're a kid, teenager, young adult, you know, orange juice is fine. But if you're diabetic, it's as bad as soda pop. Because try eating 4 oranges in one shot. Try eating 4 oranges, and that's how much half the glass of orange juice is. You squeeze it out, it's pure sugar. It's like adding sugar and a little bit orange flavor. So if you feel like having orange juice, have your orange. You know, yes, the sugar will go up higher than, let's say, the green apple, but it will get you the fiber. That's what we are after. That's what's make the sugar not go up like this with the orange juice. It'll go like in the middle of the beans and the oranges, somewhere like this. I'm okay with that.
Is it all beans?
What you mean? Any beans,
Like
yes.
Lima beans, big butter beans.
Any
brown
beans you can think of which has a hard coat outside is Mother Nature's superfood for you.
Okay.
For being a
Because
diabetic.
we
Yes,
eat a
ma'am.
lot of beans, that's all.
Beans in any form and shape, lentils in any forms and shape, you'll never go wrong. Yes, ma'am.
But not canned, right?
Say it
You
again?
don't want it canned,
No, I said X to that.
okay.
Because yes, they're cheap, yes, they're convenient, but they're full of salt. And you know, God knows how many years they sat on the shelf. All that, you know, the aluminum leached into it, it's never going to be good. Anything which has been sitting on the shelf with preservatives is never going to be good for you.
So if you cook a bunch of beans up, can you freeze them?
Yes, so it's a great point, Mark, thank you. So I know everyone is busy, and you know, what I'm proposing is a difficult challenge, you know, to do it every day. So like in our house, and we are 2 busy physicians' house, we cook a lot on the weekend. And like Mark said, freezing retains the flavors and the nutritional value. So if you cook a little bit extra for 2 meals, 3 meals, and then, you know, maybe cook 2 different kinds so you don't get bored eating the same thing over and over again.
I don't know how to cook for 2.
That's even better. So if you cook for more than 2, you know, invite your neighbors, and that will improve your quality of
I
life.
can get my food. They go to McDonald's.
That's not the word we use in this office. Alright, so, you know, beans of any kind and freeze them, lentils of any kind and freeze them. We do same thing with the brown rice and quinoa, you can freeze them. And then, you know, microwave them, or, you know, let it slowly thaw on the, you know, on the hot plate or something. All that is great. And have at least 2-3 options, so when you're hungry, you're not, you know, going to the drive-thru. Because that's the worst thing as a diabetic you can do, is be hungry. Because that's dangerous. When you're hungry, you're gonna go for your snacks. And the snacks are processed food. So let's do one thing here before I finish with the tray. So repeat after me. If it's come from a plant, we'll eat more. Repeat after me.
It comes from a plant.
Eat more. If it's made in a plant, spit it out.
If it's what?
Made in a plant.
Made in a plant?
Manufacturing.
Oh, you
plant.
manufacture, okay.
None of the things which comes from manufacturing plant are good for diabetics, good for humans, period. Why? So if you open a bag of chips, bag of pretzel, bag of biscuits, bag of anything, the manufacturer has to make sure it's tasty. Manufacturer has to make sure it has a good shelf life, right? And the manufacturer makes sure that you come back and get it again. How do they achieve it? 2 things.
Addictive flavors.
Like, I'm coming to that. Two things. Trans fat. Second thing, fructose syrup. Cheap source of sugar, awful for diabetic. So anything in a bag which comes from a plant, give it to the neighbor you don't like. Not for your consumption. If you get one thing from this talk today, not just for diabetic, if it's your grandkids, it's your kids, encourage them to cook from scratch. We in this society are becoming, and that's why if you go to a mall, you will see the young kids, teenagers, young adults, big belly, and what's the other thing they have in their hand?
Coca-Cola.
Big jugs of that. And the big problem with the Coke or even Diet Cokes, it not make you full. Anyone knows why? Why, after Coke you want a burger, you want more food?
There's like sodium in it.
Part of that problem, but the sugar and the chemicals they have, there's no fiber. If you don't have that magical ingredient in your food, and if you look at this tray again, why we are saying this is going to help you bring your sugars down, the magical ingredient in all these things is fiber. And that's the biggest thing missing in the Coke, in the, you want to take a picture here? So anytime you have orange juice or any juices, or Coke, Diet Coke, you don't get full. Because the sugar is there, you got calories, but then you have to go back and eat something else, like a bread, like a sandwich, like a burger, like something else. So now you're getting double calories. You do this tray, I can promise you, you won't be hungry for 3-4 hours. And that's the goal. We don't want you snacking in between. We want you have a good meal, have a big breakfast, have a breakfast with chili and whole grain bread. Crazy breakfast, but you won't be hungry till your lunch. And that's the goal we are after. Anytime you look at your food, you see there's not much fiber. It's processed food like white pasta, white bread. They don't have fiber. They took the fiber out. They took the most important part out by bleaching it out. Don't eat it. Once you eat it, you're screwed. Because then the body has to produce extra insulin and the body has to struggle to store it. Once you store it, as we get older, the metab is not there to get rid of it, no matter how much exercise you do. Your best chance of controlling your sugar diabetes in your hand. You do better choices here, you won't need to do as much exercise. And even you do as much exercise, it won't burn as our metab slows down as we age. So this is where the holy grail of diabetic management is. What you consume and how much you consume. If I consume 3 of these, it's not going to do the job. Then the sugars will go up, the calories will go up. I'll still be struggling with my A1C. But if you keep the portions tight, make sure there is enough filling quality with the fiber, veggies, fruits, fish, oils like olive oil, you will be all right. You won't be hungry whole day. I eat in the morning and, ask my girls, rest of the day I'm running to the hospital, seeing patients. I don't eat because I start my day with nuts, seeds, lentil soup. Rest of the day I'm not even diabetic, but what I'm saying is this food is good to introduce to your kids, grandkids, because they will not be diabetic. So not only the goal is you're the seniors, you're the leaders in your family, not only the goal in this boot camp is to help you guys achieve your goals, whatever the goals you have for bringing the A1C down, helping reduce the complication of diabetes, but also be the role models for your families, because now you're diabetic, their risk for diabetes is very high too. So being the leaders in the family, if you say, hey guys, I'm not eating, pasta every day, once a month, twice a month, 3 times a month, you go out, have a little bit, that's okay. 80-20, 80% of the time you stick with this kind of meal, 20% time, hey, life is short, whatever. But 80% of the time, and that's what you need to teach by example, your kids and grandkids, and they won't become diabetic. That's how profound this is.
What about strawberries and blueberries?
They are phenomenal. They are antioxidant, moderation, because you consume whole bushel, then yes, your sugars will be super high, but moderation, they're phenomenal. They have antioxidant properties, and we're blessed in Florida that we get beautiful strawberries, so yes.
Publix has them on sale for 99 cents today
Oh wow.
for strawberries.
Okay, so we're gonna be closing, or unless you have something else?
Oh, we're gonna do weight and.
Yeah, she gonna do your vitals, and before that, I'll just want to give you a parting gift, but you have to bring it back after you read it, so we can give it to the other folks as they join. This is one of the great book I read, and it helped me, and Jen to put together this program. Very effective. You can go on Amazon and read the reviews. Read through it, take your time, make notes, and it will be pretty similar to what we're talking here. But when you go through your own research and you come back to us, you will say that they are saying the right things. It's not that we're cooking what we're saying. It is based on good scientific data, and this book has done a good job in putting it together. So please read it, and you will see even a few pages every day. It may take you a few months. Keep it with you till then, and once you're done, please bring it back so we can pass it to other folks. Other than that, Jen, you take over.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.